All right. Good morning, Anna. I'm so excited to have you here today. Anna Brambilla is one of our new corporate partners for Career Connectors. And the reason that we said, hey, would this be a great opportunity is because over the last year in the pandemic, many people have come to us and said, hey, I'm interested in the corporate work, or I'm interested in doing what I've done before. But we've also had many people come and say, I need to know more about other opportunities as well, whether it's ownership of business, side gigs, and what you're going to talk to us about today, franchising, which is something completely different. And you have such great information to share with us, and I'm super excited about that. So Anna is a career ownership coach at the Entrepreneur Source, and she's been doing this for 4 years. But you come to us with over 20 years experience in the whole field of career transition, and you have resources in starting your own company, as well as helping people start different kind of franchises. And what I love and what I've learned from you already is that franchising is not having millions and millions of dollars and opening up a McDonald's. There are actually over 200 franchising opportunities across 80 industries. And you really help people figure out if it's right for them, and if so, what kind of thing they should be doing. And from what I understand, there's no cost to work with you. So I am excited you're here today. So welcome. And why don't you just give us an overview of what you do? Tell us a little bit about what your business is.
Oh, great. Wonderful introduction. So thank you for that. What I do is fundamentally, I give people hope. So many people are in career transition and are feeling frustrated, or they're feeling lost, or they're feeling like they're spinning their wheels trying to find a new job. And I completely support that. But what I do is I work with people to identify a vision for their future. And I help them say, what does an ideal life look like? I tend to focus on 4 areas: income, how much money do you want to be making? What kind of lifestyle do you want? What kind of wealth and equity are you looking to build for yourself or for your family? And we look at those 4 different categories, as well as others, and just really find out where my client's trying to go. And then in doing that, we start to explore different options. So yes, I have a couple hundred franchises in our portfolio. There are actually others out there, but we've got a nice section of 200, a couple hundred. And what I like is I help people explore them. So it's done through a series of conversations, just getting to know them. Where are they trying to go? What do they want more of in their life? What do they want less of in their life? The things I hear the most are people are just so sick of the politics. Oh gosh, I've been through that. I'm sure you have too. I'm so sick of making lots of money for other people. I'm so sick of working for jerks. You hear those things all the time. And what I do is I help people explore that. And then we talk, as we've gone over a few conversations, I've had them fill out a couple of worksheets. After that, I have a couple hundred franchises, and I choose the top 3 that I'd like to help them explore. And I am just a tour guide of sorts. And I just take people down. We call it the journey of discovery. And I love that because it's all about learning and exploring and discovering. And almost every time, I think actually 99.9% of the time, my clients have learned something. And I don't care if they end up in a franchise. I care deeply about my clients, but I don't care if they end up in a franchise, because it's all about them and what's best for them. And that's what I love about what I do.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'm taking notes furiously here. You've already said some really great nuggets. The whole career transition guidance and the coaches, it's really a journey. And I love that you have kind of a full spectrum of experience in the area of career transition. And then this is another one that you are adding. And so how did you get started into this field 4 years ago?
Oh, that's a great question. So I had been in the career transition field for 20 years. I had been a job search coach. I've been an outplacement coach. I was a recruiter for a number of years. And so I love that population of professionals in career transition. And about four and a half years ago now, I started thinking, what's next? I was not happy doing what I was doing and started to think about starting my own company. And I went down that path and realized just there's so much involved with starting your own company, and you have to wear so many different hats, and you can only a tiny fraction typically of your professional life is doing the work of that company because you have to do everything else. I happened to stumble across a workshop on franchise options, and I thought, well, what the heck, I'll check this out. And attended and just loved what the coach had to say, because he was a coach and he with the entrepreneur source, and just was all about me and what was best for me as his client. And I looked at a bunch of different options, and there's some fantastic franchises out there, but really came to the conclusion that franchising was right for me. There's a concept, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. But also that the entrepreneur source specifically was right for me, because we are coaches. We're not salespeople. I hate sales. I mean, sales is wonderful, but it's not me. I'm a coach. I love helping people. And that's really what I was drawn to. And so I attended my first phase 1 of training about almost 4 years ago, and have never looked back. And it's just powerful stuff. So I own a franchise. I've been through the exact same journey that I take my clients through. I own the franchise. I'm in business for myself. It's my business. I get to decide when and how I want to run it. I get to decide the hours I want to work. I get to decide how I want to do clients and work with my clients and all kinds of things, but I'm not by myself. And that's the true franchise advantage, I think. So they got people doing all kinds of stuff like the marketing, the technology, the strategic planning, the training, all of that stuff. So it's great.
Yeah, I just hear you saying that. I'm like, how wonderful. I own 2 businesses, and it's hard sometimes to understand and run all the finances. I'm learning 12 years later some legal stuff and some commingling funds and stuff I didn't even know about. No one told me this. I didn't learn along the way. And so in IT, when stuff, I'm like, what do I even do? I don't know. I'm a business of one, or on my other one, I have a staff, but it's hard. And so it sounds like this is a great option for somebody that's really interested in business ownership, but might not want to have to do everything on their own. Can you give us, like, what are the types of people that are successful in this, in the entrepreneur source with franchising?
You know, it's interesting. There's such a wide variety. One of the nice things about franchising is that it's reversed ageism. So they actually prefer people in their 40s and 50s and even 60s and even into the 70s. They prefer that age range, because I'm sure you haven't reached that age yet. But for myself, it's nice to be, have that knowledge. You have that knowledge, obviously, about business, but it's nice to have that longer term view. And the people who are successful, yes, we have a lot of business owners. We have business executives, mid to senior career executives, executives in some kind of career transition. We have owners in all kinds of different fields. Sales people typically do well, but so do operations people, and so do HR people, and so do marketing people and finance people. And not only that, they don't have to have business experience. We've got a lot of franchises that love nonprofit experience. We've got lots of moms returning to work. That's always a great place, because, you know, for so many of us, myself included, it was hard going back into the workforce after I had my baby, you know, my now 13-year-old, you know, and I'm sure you see that with your clients all the time. And so that's the nice thing about franchising too, is that people can go back and use the skills that they've had, and they're not considered, you know, out of date because they haven't been working straight for the past 10 or 15 years or whatever. So it's almost anybody with the right skills. The 3 things that are the biggest determinants of success are: how well does somebody follow the business model? How is their attitude? What kind of attitude do they have? And how coachable are they? Those are the 3, nothing is guaranteed, obviously, but those are the 3 biggest components of success typically. And you can get those with almost anybody.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Those 3 components are so important in many kinds of businesses. And so they're just really important aspects of somebody that's driven and wants to, cares about something. If they're going to do a really good job and they're going to, you know, follow the business model. I mean, to be given the business model and the plans, I mean, that's half of the the problem of being an entrepreneur. It's crazy.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. So tell us some example stories. What are some successes you've seen in since you've been doing this the last 4 years?
Oh, great. Oh, I have some great stories. I have this client. I'll tell you, I love all of my clients. So don't tell my husband. He gets a little jealous. My Italian husband gets a little jealous, but that's okay. So I have a client who is based in Colorado, and he was a former very senior finance executive with a bunch of different companies, was doing great, thought he was going to retire from those companies, and got unceremoniously laid off a few years ago, about 2 years ago. And he had been looking and looking and looking, and it was not lack of skills. It was not lack of, you know, intelligence or drive or anything else, but he was just not getting traction on his job search. And he told me he had in a couple of years applied for something like 412 jobs and gotten something like, I forget the numbers, 12 interviews in 2 years. And he was really getting worried. And so he started to look at franchising, and he'll be the first one to tell you he thought it was a scam when my assistant called him up and said, "Hey, are you interested?" And he says, "What the heck? I'll take a look. I'll start looking at." And we looked at a bunch of different franchises, and now he's going to be opening a fantastic franchise in Colorado. He's just waiting on funding to clear, so that's exciting. I have another client I was just speaking with earlier today. In fact, he's down in Missouri. And he had been laid off and was sort of looking around. He didn't want to retire. He could, but, you know, really wanted to keep busy. So we looked at a bunch of different franchises, and he's opening up a dog training franchise with his daughter because he wants to find something that he can do with his daughter. And so that's a wonderful, wonderful place. I have another client, this was also in Colorado, where he came to me, was looking around, really having a hard time, but thought, I'll keep an open mind and see what else is out there. And so we worked together. He had a background in technology, and we worked together for several months. Along the line, a job offer came along that he was very excited about initially when it came up. And he actually ended up getting the job offer and said, I can't go back to corporate America. I just can't do it anymore. And so he ended up buying a tech-based franchise. I have another client who I'm working with who hasn't ended up in a franchise yet. Maybe he will. He's in Massachusetts, and he's owned his own nonprofit for years. And it's not meant to be a nonprofit, but it's turning into be a nonprofit, unfortunately. And he's just so frustrated, and he's having to deal with a lot of legal and regulatory red tape, and he's just frustrated as heck. And he's now looking at various options that will take advantage of his skills, but he doesn't have to recreate the wheel. He doesn't have to do everything. It's a proven business model. Lots of clients like that, just fantastic clients.
That is amazing. Something you said, so Career Connectors has served over 43,000 people since we've been doing this.
Wow.
And I can't tell you the number, it's large, but the number of people that have come to us and said, I've been in corporate America for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and I was laid off, and I don't know what to do. I've never been in this spot. I don't, and you know what, frankly, I'm kind of over that kind of career. I want something else, but I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't know what that means. And so I'm thinking, and you had said, you know, people over 40 are kind of like an ideal criteria for you because they have quite a bit of experience under their belt. So I can see how that could be a great fit for many people. So is that the data that, like, what are any trends or data that you have that you can share with us of, you know, who is the right fit for this type of opportunity?
Yeah, you brought up the data, and the trends are scary, honestly. As people, I don't remember the specific numbers, but people who are over 40 are much more likely to be laid off. Ageism exists, unfortunately. It's taking them twice as long to get a job than it did when they were in their 20s and 30s and even early 40s. And when they do get a job, the average tenure is 18 months. That's all. And that's scary. And, people think, okay, I'm just getting my next job. I'm going to be there for a while. And that certainly happens. And I certainly hope that for everybody for whom that's the right fit. But there's plenty of people for whom that doesn't happen. And people get sick of constantly being laid off. And people, like you said, who've never been laid off in their lives. I talk to clients like that all the time. I've never not had a job since I was 16, and they're in their 50s now. And I'm sure you have clients like that all the time, and they're, oh my goodness, what do I do now? And it's scary. And I love that goes back to my giving them hope. I give them options. The other thing too I wanted to mention is that it's really important for your clients and my clients to know, please keep a job search going at the same time if you're exploring franchising. This is just another avenue to explore. That's all it is. There's no cost to working with me. There's no commitment. It's all about learning. Should they happen to end up in a franchise, then I would get paid by the franchisor. But that's not my goal, is to get them into a franchise. If it's not right for them, it's not right for them. My goal is to have them learn something.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So when someone's talking to you and you're like, they're not right for a franchise, how do you tell them that? Like, what does that look like? And have you done that?
Great. I have done that, but I try not to tell them that. I try to be more of a coach than hey, by the way, this isn't right for you. Occasionally I do that, obviously. And I basically just talk to them and I say, okay, these are your options. What are the pros and cons of all of these options? And we compare and contrast. And typically they come to the conclusion after working with me, you know what, franchising just isn't right for me. And I celebrate that. And I say, congratulations. And they're always surprised because it's like, well, you worked with me for so many months or weeks or whatever it was, and I'm not buying anything and you're not getting paid. You've wasted your time. I said, I've never wasted my time as long as you've learned something. That's the most important thing. And you'll be surprised how many people really are grateful that I gave them a safe spot to explore. I have this sign in the background, welcome to the safe zone. And that's what I provide, is a safe zone to explore. And I've seen again and again and again, people for whom it wasn't right when I first talked to them come back to me. I have a client buying a great franchise in Utah. I connected with him about a year ago, wasn't the right time. And then he came back to me and said, you know what, Anna, now's the right time. And he just signed the paperwork last week for a fantastic handyman franchise in Utah. So that's one of the things that I like.
It's great to hear all the different types of franchises, ones you wouldn't even think, like a handyman, well, I'm just going to go run my own business. But you don't realize the finance, the taxes, the laws, the marketing, all social media, all the stuff that you don't think about as a business owner. But when you partner with a franchise, that they take care of a lot of that for you. That's just amazing. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the process. So if I'm interested, I assume I contact you and say, hey, can we just, can we talk through my career, what's going on? I know I'm going to keep actively job searching, but what's the process once I contact you?
Great. So I do have an online calendar, and I'm sure we'll put the link somewhere so people can just get on my calendar, find a time that works for you. And I just start by getting to know my client. So if you're my client, Jessica, so tell me about your career. What have you done so far? What are the things that you've loved doing? What's that fire in the belly? What are the things like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with X anymore, whatever that is. And we just start having conversations, and we start to identify, where are you trying to go? What's important to you? What does your life look like a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now? What are the things that you need to adjust and change? And we do that. So that's just the first introductory call. And then we'll have a second call. And typically that lasts a little bit longer. I have a fill out a worksheet called U 2.0. And it's talking about same things, what's going on for you, but more importantly, too, not only do where you want to go, but what are your transferable strengths? We all have them. We don't think we do sometimes, but we all have them. And let's find that. What's your superpower? What makes you you? And we do that over a series of conversations. And after about 2 or 3 conversations, then I can go to my database and I can choose the top 3. And those are just the top 3. Those are just the initial starting point. Most of our clients, if they end up in a franchise, it's one of those top three, but oftentimes it's not, and that's fine. And what I do is I introduce the franchise to my client. So I say, okay, franchise A, B, and C, here's my client, Jessica, and this is a little bit of information. And then you would start talking to the franchises. And it would take you, just a couple of calls typically, just to get the initial, hey, what do you do? What, they're asking about you, you're asking about them. And then we keep going down. And so you and I keep talking until you get to what we call a point of clarity. Either franchising is right for you, great, we'll find you one, or it's not right for you, great, you've learned something. So that's really important.
Well, that's great. So I'm just pulling up the link to your calendar. I'm going to drop that into this talk today.
Great.
And I really appreciate you talking to us today, because I think it's really important for people to understand that there are more options out there. There's not just one path to successful careers. There are many paths, and this is one of them. Yes. I am so grateful to be somewhere where I do have multiple streams of revenue. And as much as I can tell people about these opportunities, I think it's really important, because we do care about people loving their careers, loving what they're doing. And one of the most fun things that I get to be involved with is seeing people either launch a new career, launch a new job, start a franchise, and just the excitement and the passion they have again about the work that they're doing. Anything else that you'd like to add today, Anna?
One thing that I think that's important to notice, and you've talked about this at the introduction too, franchising does not cost millions of dollars. Typically, in the portfolio, the franchises in our system are between $75,000 to $150,000, $200,000, and funding is readily available. So $75,000 is not nothing. I understand that. Not many people have that in their back pocket. But it's still considerably less than the $2 million, $3 million plus. Only 4% of the franchises in our system have anything to do with food. So they have very broad variety of franchises. The other thing that I think is really crucial for clients to know is that franchises are awarded, they're not sold. So you can show up on a doorstep of a franchise and say, I want to buy 10 franchises, here's my cash on the barrel. Unless they are absolutely convinced that you are going to be a great franchisee, they won't award you a franchise. And to me, that's really powerful, knowing that they're not going to just take my money and run. They want to make sure and set me up as a client, or any of my clients up for success. And so I think that's really an important thing to keep in mind too.
Absolutely. I've known multiple people that have owned franchises and didn't have to go through a process to be able to actually start working with that franchise. So Anna, thank you so much. You are seriously a joy. Every time I talk to you, it's a smile, and you just really care about people, I can tell. So thank you for doing this today, and hopefully we'll be able to get some people connected with you soon.
I look forward to that. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.